Xaxis is GroupM's, what the industry calls us is an agency trading desk, and that's in quotations, and we can talk about why it's in quotations if you'd like, but essentially what we do is we act as, we aggregate all of GroupM's demand for audiences, and then reach out into the marketplace to find the right inventory for those audiences. So our philosophy really is gathering for advertisers as much data as possible about their audience. It may come from their website, it may come from industry, third-party data providers, any data that we can really get our hands on, we like to put in our data management platform, and then match that across as much inventory as possible. So that inventory may come from exchanges, it may be video, it may be display, it may be social, it may be mobile. Increasingly, actually, we just launched a radio product, so online radio. And we're moving into digital out of home. So you can imagine, as much inventory as possible, we try to match up against those audiences and then deliver targeted advertising for our marketers. I'm
curious. I mean, what's the readiness of your advertisers to be doing kind of full, kind of multi-screen, multi-channel, multi-format kind of programs? Yeah,
I mean, and that's really what I focus on in my role, is helping marketers think about this opportunity and figuring out how can they apply it and make it actionable. I would say that for marketers who are, I think our initial success was really with the direct response driven marketers, because there historically has been a clear measurable outcome for them, a sale online, for example, whereas our brand advertisers really struggled for some time to figure out what's the opportunity for them. How do they, for a marketer who's selling soap, it's not necessarily, obvious how they're going to make this work for them. But over time, I think we've found a lot of ways for brand marketers to drive value from this sort of platform, and now we can easily show what a digital impression does to drive an in-store sale. So I think to answer your question, the readiness really depends on the marketer. Some are just barely dipping their toes, and others, when I say things like a fully coordinated buy across TV, across display, across social, across radio, their eyes light up, and they really, that's what they see as the vision. Now the issue is implementation.
Do they? Well, I was going to ask. I mean, do they want to understand the how? I mean, do they say to you, "That sounds great, but what do you mean when you say RTB or programmatic buying, or a data management platform?"
Yeah, it depends. I mean, it really depends on the marketer. I think what I've found in my role over the last 18 months, we always focus on education. That's extremely important for us, because if we're not bringing along the industry, whether that be within the agencies or within our clients, we won't evolve. So. Initially, it was educating them on what RTB is, and now it's educating them to challenge them to think beyond just RTB. Because RTB, I think, I wouldn't say it's a dirty word, but it puts us in a box of only exchange-based, low-value inventory, when in fact we're doing far more than that. We're getting inventory from very premium publishers that otherwise may not even put their inventory on an exchange. So, we're working, and now I've seen, even at some of the more old boy club advertisers that we work with, they're hiring.
I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah. What do you mean, old boys club advertisers? What?
They're hiring, they're hiring those mathletes now also, and are getting really smart about the marketplace.
Are you super proud to be a mathlete? I'm super proud to be a mathlete personally. I think that is I've always thought that was very cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's I'll wear that title proudly, I suppose. Yeah.
That's good. Okay. So can you explain how what Xaxis is doing is different than what traditionally a media buyer or a media buying shop would be doing?
Yeah, I mean, I think the way that I describe it to our clients is, you're a media buyer or a typical media buyer that they're buying media, so they're putting together media plans, which is great, right? And that works for certain types of buys. What we're doing is we're putting together audience plans, and we're doing audience buying. So historically, we've used the content as a proxy for the audience. I want to reach men who are interested in finance, I would buy the Financial Times, for example. But you're going to reach people who are, you'll reach me on days that I read the Financial Times, which is not every day. Or you'll reach other people outside of your target. So, content is often a great proxy for audience, but now we have so much more. It was the best thing possible previously, and now we can go directly to the audience. So let's do that. And what we're doing is we're putting together audience plans in conjunction that often run alongside a media plan. So I encourage all marketers to think about, great, you've got a media plan and you're reaching your audiences in important environments. How much of that budget can you slice off to devote to reaching the audience as a complement? And a way that one of our very large clients played it back to me, she said, I like to use an audience plan in addition to a media plan because it makes my media plan work that much harder. It makes those dollars really pump. And I think that's, Do
you end up with the same publisher wearing two hats on two different plans?
Yeah, so there can be a challenge of, channel conflict. That may in fact happen, but I think the communication goal would be different for that sort of scenario. So let's say someone would buy direct a publisher and our marketer's ad would show up. The communication goal of that ad and the creative would be very different from, let's say, the audience portion of the plan generally.
Yeah, I was trying to think. I was coming at it from a more benevolent point of view, which is, what's the upside for the publisher? Is there an upside for publishers to strike totally different kinds of deals with the buy side than they've really been able to strike before?
Yeah, I think for publishers, there's tremendous opportunity with audience buying, and we've had a number of conversations, even with what might be considered the most reticent of publishers to enter into this marketplace, because, programmatic buying is more operationally efficient, period. B, it gives, what we've done at Xaxis is we've created a very highly curated set of advertisers, and we can bring that set of demand to publishers, and for our marketers, they get that cream of the crop premium publishers. So it's really matching the demand with the supply. What is different is we productize this. So it's not just, the publishers get really a guarantee that they're going to have the right type of advertisers on there. They get a guarantee that we're going to spend a certain amount, and it's sort of a win-win.
All right, so we're going to change gears slightly. My background, I'm at Forrester Research now. My background really is in the agency world, and I got very excited about the whole rise of, at the time, ad exchanges and demand-side platforms around 2007, and started a trading desk at the agency that I worked at, Razorfish. It was a display game.
Yep.
When I started, it was a display game, and it was a DR game. So it was a DR display game. When we're now at this conference that has so much fantastic content around video and the video opportunity, for consumers, certainly for advertisers, where does what you guys are doing, how does that mesh with the enormous rise of video? Yeah,
it's such a great, there's such a great synergy. There's so much that we can learn from display, because similarly, 3 years ago at this point, when we launched the trading desk, if you will, it was similarly focused on display, and now we've really moved out to many channels. There's so much we can learn. First of all, from a targeting perspective, we've learned a lot about data and data that works and how to put together a targeted plan. Everything from which third-party data providers work and for what type of data, as well as how do I bring a client's customer file online and use that for targeting. So we've learned a lot through display in terms of targeting, and we've also learned a lot in terms of measuring. And I think it works both ways, actually, when you look at video, because we can now apply, and we are applying what we've learned about measurement in display to video, and likewise we're taking sort of traditional video metrics and applying it to
Can you give an example of that?
Yeah, I mean, sure. Just taking the online GRP, let's say, or excuse me, taking the traditional GRP and you know, bringing it online to the online world. In many of our markets, not so much the U.S., in many of our markets within Xaxis, we are building net reach curves that span both TV and video. So it's allowing, what we say is like digital is growing up. It's allowing, it's giving us the opportunity to describe what we're doing in a way that resonates with the traditional marketers, rather than just being the sort of mathlete geeks off in the corner that, you know, the digital people understand, but the traditional side of the house is sort of like, you know, that's just, it's, you know, it's not big scale yet.
So what's neat about what you guys are doing, I think, is that it's framed within the audience story and moving an audience, you know, through a journey across formats and devices. I mean, do you tend to find that you're advising marketers to start with video? You know, is that the kind of emotional grab that you support with other things, or how does that work?
Yeah, I mean, well, we have this approach called the affinity tiers, if you will, and essentially our framework is, listen, there's a ton of data out there, and let's think about it in terms of a way that makes sense. So on the one end of the spectrum, we have data that can identify, I'm a purchaser, I'm a loyal customer. And we also have data that can identify that, you know, I don't know anything about this person, so what kind of message do I then want to deliver? When we're talking to someone who we don't know as much, that's a great opportunity for branding. And there's nothing like, you know, sight, sound, and motion to leave sort of emotional message with someone like video. So that's where we start. We really think about video as the top of the funnel, if you will, kind of the first touch if we don't know anything. Video is a great way to start that relationship. And then we might move down to, you know, in terms of sequencing, more of a premium placement. And then we might move them down, as they're engaging and as we're learning more about them, we might move them down to a different type of creative format, such as display, and maybe reach them on Facebook. And you know, that's kind of how we're thinking about sequencing. And the beauty is that, you know, we can do this now at a user level across all channels. We're not, and across all media really, we're not limited to one portal or another portal. It's a question of really stitching together the entire plan and seeing how a user is reacting and is moving through the journey with us. And that's where it gets really exciting. And marketers are really grasping onto this vision, I think.